chronology, we are missing one librarian, Anna B. Wilson, who was the librarian under Pendleton, who became the director between Pendleton and Ed Roberts. Ed Roberts was perhaps one of the very innovative librarians. She went off, she took a leave of absence, went off and got some training and came back, and she did some very innovative things here. Eleanor Hamilton unfortunately suffered a stroke when she was library director, so she is the only librarian to die in office, and we don't, of course, want that to reoccur. Some of these pictures are pictures of copies, so they're not real, but it's kind of extraordinary to think about all the years that the library was here. Some of these library directors had long tenures that you only see a handful of people up here on the page. When you see the PDF file, you will see also some of the sources that I used. And that is all I have to tell you about. Do you have questions? Yes? Kate?
Two comments and then a question. The first one is, this library is not just the site of the Heavenville Railroad, but a burial ground.
A cemetery, yes.
Yeah. And the other is, I've read in the old papers that the library at one time was in the North Market. Have you ever?
No, I haven't seen anything that would confirm that.
It was the 1860s. Now, my question is, what is the purpose of the Library Commission? What do they do?
Well, the Library Commission was established originally to establish and set up libraries, but now, of course, most of the libraries are in the communities. Its goal is to offer support and services. So, and it provides funding. The budget now for this library comes from four pieces. One would be donations and bequests, which you can still do, right, Donnie Thomas? We have an endowment fund here. Remember the library. We don't want you to die, but remember the library. There is the money that comes out of the Board of Education levy. There is the money that comes from the county commission levy, which is property taxes that you pay. And then there is a per capita expenditure that is provided through the Library Commission to every public library. And that's around $5 now, is that correct?
Yeah, I would add, it's actually the state legislature.
Right.
That every year determines the budget. The governor sets the budget, the legislature must pass it. And the state of West Virginia is actually 6th in the nation, so it's very high.
For state revenues, not local,
yes,
state.
It's state money, and it's distributed to all the public libraries in West Virginia on a per capita basis.
Now that money, those dollars originally would come out of the general fund. These days, and for a number of years, they come totally from lottery revenues. So it's a very significant fact to the library community when we hear about things not going well with the lottery and the racetracks and the other people in town, because the legislature has moved every single penny in library funding from the general revenue fund into the lottery account. It's $5 per capita, and that's based on the census figures, and your service area. So that, Dottie, what percentage of your budget is that?
It's approximately right now.
Yeah.
It's 18%.
18%. Now, of course, what else is happening with funding, and I would not go away without saying this, is there's recently been a decision by the West Virginia Supreme Court of Appeals saying that the libraries who are funded through the special laws that carve out money from boards of education, that is unconstitutional. The boards can continue to provide that money voluntarily if they want, but are not mandated to do so. We are very, very fortunate that our Board of Education has said this year and next year they will continue to provide those monies, which is around $400,000 or $500,000.
About a little over $500,000.
$500,000.
It's 40%.
40% of the entire budget year. Beyond that, next year they do not. Actually, next year they're not required to do that. So we are very concerned. And if you're reading the newspapers in Kanawha County, the board is saying we're not going to give this money anymore. And so they're dickering with them, and will you give us some at least? And so, yes.
If 20% comes from the state and 40% comes from the lottery funds, where's the rest
the levies of the county commission for property taxes.
It's 40% from the Board of Education. That was by law until just a few months ago. 40% from the county commission. And they are almost always, always within just a few $1,000s. So whoever wrote our special law definitely designed it so that they be that equal funders of the library. And then 20% from the West Virginia legislature.
Per capita grants.
Which is lottery funds.
Right, the lottery funded.
But
It's
our-
called grants and aid.
80% of, through our local law.
So as the population decreases in this county, it affects the state funding, but it has not affected the other two, except that there would be less property taxes paid, for example. It's a very precarious situation right now because this library cannot afford a 40% loss in its budget. So, you know, the Library Commission, you may have seen the news release a week or so ago, publicly by resolution, thanked and recognized the actions of the Ohio County Board of Education, who have always been library leaders in this state, as you have seen in this presentation. And we will hope that they will continue to do that. Other questions?
I could add one more thing. In this past legislative session that just ended, there was a bill introduced that wouldn't provide funding to all public libraries in West Virginia from their boards of education. The situation the Supreme Court has said is that it has to be all or none. You can't require some boards of education to support their library, but not others. So the bill that was introduced would have required all boards of education to have to support the public libraries in their communities. It did not get through. It got through one committee and then it was gone. But we will be working on that every year. You can count on it.
Yeah, the real solution is to have a stable source that is there for everyone and is not subject to the whims of anyone, like gamblers. Other questions? Yes, Jean?
If I heard you correctly, 1882 was the first Wheeling Public Library.
Yes.
And you said in 1900 there was only one public library in West Virginia.
Right.
And we were it.
We were it, yeah.